So, in our previous classes, we were learning about difference between direct taxes and indirect taxes. We understood what is tax. We understood different aspects of tax. Now, with respect to India, how levy of tax happens, we need to understand. So that means if anything administrative or with respect to legislature, if anything has to happen, there should be some base document based on which everything will happen. So in India, the base document, we consider it as the Constitution of India. So what are the constitutional provisions for taxation is what we need to understand. Constitutional provisions for taxation in India. So in India, if at all any law has to come into force or any new thing has to come into force, it is all dependent on one thing, that is your constitution. So if you go to part 12 of the constitution, if you go to part 12 of the constitution, it speaks about finance, property, contracts and suits. I am showing the bare constitution to you. So as you know, being the law students, the standard thing to refer is always the bare act. No matter any act it may be, no matter any statute you are going to study, bare act is the basic document where you can find the references for everything. So now I'm showing the bare constitution for you so that we will have an understanding of what is constitutional provision with respect to taxation. So this particular part speaks about contracts. This particular part mainly speaks about finances. So finance is all about money. So tax is a part of money thing. That is how country earns the money. So 264 is not so important for us because 264 is again repeated in 280. And that is not none of our business as of now, because this finance commission, whatever is there, is now changed actually. So now the thing is, very important section is Article 265 of the Constitution. Article 265 of the Constitution is very important when it comes to any tax law in India. Very important with respect to tax laws in India. This is the activating section. This is the charging section. This is the charging article which gives the power to levy tax in India. What does it say? It reads in negative terms. It reads in negative terms. What does it say? No tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. Government tomorrow cannot open a counter and say people should go there and pay taxes. Government cannot say this. Any of the government officers tomorrow cannot suddenly say that tomorrow onwards we are going to levy a tax in India. To levy a tax, there should be an authority that is given by a law. So Article 265 gives the power to make or gives the power to collect the tax. Article 265 gives the power to collect the tax. How? Article 265 says if government wants to collect the tax from the people, then they have to bring a thing called as law or a statute or an act. Law means set of rules and regulations, and you know how law is brought into force. Discussion will happen in bill will be introduced. That bill, based on that bill, discussion will happen in both the houses of the parliament, and then it will be signed by the President of India and it will be officially published in the official gazette, and then it will be called as an act. That means government on its own cannot bring a tax. If government plans to bring a tax, it has to bring a law. To bring a law, obviously parliaments will come into picture. This is what Article 265 says. Even though it reads in single line, it is of very much importance when it comes to taxation in India. Your entire tax law, you may read GST, you may read Income Tax Act, you may read Professional Tax, you may read any other act for that matter, Stamp Duty Act. Any act which collects a tax in India is based on Article 265. What does it say? It says there should be a law to collect the tax. Without that, no tax can be collected. Without which, no tax can be collected. So this is what Article 265 says. Now, yes, sir. This is what Article 265 says. Okay. So continuing with this, whenever we speak about framing of law, which is another important article when it comes to framing of law, authority of law. Authority of law means a law has to be framed for collection of taxes. Whenever a question of law comes into picture, next question is who will make the law? Who will make the law? If I have to answer this question, who will make the law? Tell me which article plays an important role. Since you are a constitution student, more than constitution student, since you are social studies students, I'm asking this question to you. Because this particular thing has been coming to you right from your 8th standard when you are studying civics. When I say who will make the law, the answer is there in the constitution itself. Can anyone tell me which article gives me the provision as to who will make the law? Yes, quickly. I'm waiting for your answers. My dear constitutional experts, Article 12. It's not Article 12. Have you come across something called as Article 246? Article 246. Does anyone remember Article 246? Article 246, actually you know this, but I think so you don't know the number of the article, that's it. Article 246, if I go to Article 246, subject matter of the laws made by the parliament and the states. This gives us the answer as to who will make the law. Simply the state list, central list and concurrent list which you have studied. 7th schedule, part 1, 7th schedule, part 2, 7th schedule, part 3. Subject matter as to which the central government will frame the laws. Subject matter as to state government that will be making the laws. Subject matter where both the governments have equal right to frame the law. Concurrent list. With respect to this division is given in the constitution itself. See, ours is a quasi-federal form of government. Constitution says that India is a quasi-federal form of government. We are not totally federal. At the same time, we are not unitary also. It is not that only central government will have the control. Even the state governments will also have the control over the administration. Whenever the question of administration comes, collection of tax is also a very important part of administration. So whenever question of collection of tax comes, what is important? Having a law to collect the tax is very important. Now, who will frame the law as to which part? That is made under Article 246. Article 246 of the Constitution. So what does Article 246 say? Article 246 divides the responsibility between central government, responsibility between the state government, and also it gives certain matters within itself. It is like your parents and you, relationship between your parents and you. So let us say you want to study something. So it's your personal life. Let us say decisions about your personal life. Taking decisions about your personal life. With respect to college you may go, or with respect to, or let us say, with respect to where do you, or with respect to how much money will you be spending, with respect to how will you be a lifestyle, with respect to how, at what time you'll be coming home and what time you will be going out. With all these things, your parents have a control. So with respect to these rules, your parents will be having the control to make the rules. At the same time, you will say, see, okay, you may give me any rules, but certain things I should have a control. Which is that? With respect to how much money I'll be spending, with respect to how much time I'll be spending on TV, mobile, with respect to how much time I'll be spending talking to certain people. So all these rules are made by yourself. So it is like a state list. You have your control with respect to those things. There are certain matters which are to be decided with discussions between your parents and you. That is like your concurrent list. So this is a very broad area. Article 246 is not only relevant to the taxation. Article 246 is a broad thing. Article 246 is broad. I am just restricting the scope to tax laws. So whenever constitutional provision of tax law comes, you should say Article 265 read with Article 246. Article 265 read with Article 246. So that you will have a clarity with respect to interpretation of constitutional provision with respect to taxation. So Article 246, I'll be going with the straight reading of Article 246. What does it say? Article 246 clause 1 says, notwithstanding anything. So you know this, right? Notwithstanding clause. You know how to read these things and all, no? What is notwithstanding clause? Have you come across this notwithstanding anything? Yes, my dear proteins, please tell me. Hey, I'm waiting for a response. 51 people are there in the class. No one is responding. Are you all there, first of all? What is notwithstanding? Notwithstanding makes the article definite. Notwithstanding makes the article independent, actually. It makes the article, it makes any section independent. That means if anything else is written, we are not going to consider. This will prevail. Notwithstanding anything else, notwithstanding anything, any other section, notwithstanding anything, anything in any other laws. These are all common words which are used in your statutes. See, why I am using these words or why I am asking so much is because we tend to read more of the ready-made textbooks available in the market. But law is not a subject which is to be studied from the ready-made textbook. Law is that subject which needs to be understood with the help of bare act, especially when it comes to commercial laws. Especially when it comes to commercial laws like your income tax or your GST or maybe your Companies Act. All these things are to be understood from the bare act. Even the constitution has to be understood from the bare act. So reading it is an art which needs to be cultivated within ourselves. Reading it is an art which needs to be cultivated among ourselves. I don't know whether you are taught to read a bare act or whether you have a training for reading a bare act. I don't know. There is a subject called as interpretation of statutes, which may come in the next sem. I don't know. I'm not so sure about sem and interpretation of statutes. If you ask me, I'll say interpretation of statutes should be the first thing which is to be taught to students. General Clauses Act and interpretation of statutes are the two important things for any student, law student especially, because without knowing how to interpret a provision, without knowing how to interpret a law, what law can you study? It is very difficult to understand. See, Contract Act, Partnership Act and all are very simple. You can understand it just by plain reading. But when it comes to the complicated laws, when it comes to understanding different provisions, when it comes to provisions of major acts, interpretation of statutes are very important. And when it comes to, see, it is not lawmakers are using some simple words. Lawmaker never uses simple words. They use some complicated words so that there will be some weightage for the thing and it will not be easily misinterpreted. So while drafting the constitution, they have used some words, out of which one is notwithstanding. Notwithstanding ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು? Notwithstanding ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ಗಳು ಈ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ನ ಮುಂದೆ ನಿಲ್ಲುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಈ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಓದುವಾಗ ಇದನ್ನು ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಓದಬೇಕು, ಇದನ್ನು ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಓದಬೇಕು. ಇದು ಸರ್ಟೈನ್. ಈ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಏನಿದೆಯೋ ಇದು ಸರ್ಟೈನ್. ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಇದು ಬೇರೆಯಾಗಿ ನಿಲ್ತದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ notwithstanding clause is all about. So what does this say? Article 246 clause 1 says, notwithstanding anything in clauses 2 and 3. So clause 2 ಮತ್ತೆ clause 3 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರ್ತಿದಾರೋ ಅದು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು Parliament has exclusive power to make the laws with respect to any matters enumerated in list 1 of the 7th schedule. Parliament means what? The central government. Parliament, the central government. ಸ್ಟೇಟಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲೋಕಸಭಾ ಅಂಡ್ ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭಾ. So what does it has? Parliament has exclusive power to make the law with respect to any matters enumerated in list 1. Social studies ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂಚೆ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ list 1 union list, list 2 concurrent list, sorry, list 2 state list, and list 3 is the concurrent list. That is what we studied, correct? So list ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ, list ಅಲ್ಲಿ different subject matters ಇದೆ. So now if I have to explain you the list 1, let us go to the list 1 and let us try to understand. So schedule 7 in a list 1 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ? Let us try to understand. If you go to schedule 7 and list 1, can you see it on the screen? So ನಾನು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. Others, if you have interest, you just go and refer to this this thing. Okay. So 7th schedule, constitution na extra part, schedule, addendum to the constitution, schedules ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಇತ್ತು. Okay, schedules ಇರ್ತದೆ, addendum to the constitution. So schedules ಅಲ್ಲಿ coming to 7th schedule. So this is with respect to article 246, the union list. Sir, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಬೈ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೆವೆಂತ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ 1 ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಎಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಈ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು 5 to 6 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸಪೋಸ್ so that you can improve your answer, so that you can improvise your answers. See, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತದೆ, I'll just give an example. See, items, defense of India. So with respect to defense, central government has the power to make the law. Naval, military and air forces, central government has the right. So all like this, when it comes to this your taxation part, it comes after 82, entry number 82 in the birthday. So taxes on income other than agricultural income. So this is the place where central government is deriving its power to make laws on income. So income tax barudillinda, income tax ಬರಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ article 265 is important. Article 265 ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ article 246 is important. Article 246 clause 1 ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ part 1 of 7th schedule is important. Part 1 7th schedule ಅಲ್ಲಿ entry number 82 tells central government has the power to levy taxes on income other than agricultural income. Agricultural income ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕುವಂತ ರೈಟ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕುವ ರೈಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಅಂಡರ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ agricultural income is exempt. That is why agricultural income is exempt, because central government has no power to tax. Central government ಗೆ ಪವರ್ ಇತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ agricultural income ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಬಹುದಿತ್ತು, ಬಟ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೆ ಪವರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ itself is not giving the power. So this is where the power is derived. Next, custom duties. Duties of customs including export duties. Duties of excise on tobacco and other manufactured products except alcoholic liquor for human consumption, opium, Indian hemp and other narcotic drugs and narcotics. So tobacco products na mele excise duty hakuvanta right central government ide. It can frame the laws. But with respect to alcohol, with respect to opium and narcotics, central government has no power. Central government cannot make the law. Sir, whether it is allowed in state government, we need to see in the state list. You tell me, are you following what I am telling? First of all, ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? You need to confirm that. Are you understanding what I am trying to explain here? Yes, 100% you are having a clarity. I am elaborating the lists for you. I am elaborating the power of central government to frame the tax laws. And now you know that the power is derived from Article 265. Article 265 says very simple thing. Article 265 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ? ಈ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ in India, no tax can be collected without the provision of law. Law illade tax collect ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. Where there is a tax, there should be a law behind the tax. That is what Article 265 says. Very simple. So law ಅಂತ ಬರುವಾಗ law making authority ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಬೇಕು. For that we need to go for Article 246 of the Constitution. Article 246 divides the responsibility between state government and central government. So Article 246 clause 1 says Parliament. Parliament means the central government has the power to frame the laws with respect to those matters which are listed in part 1 of the 7th schedule. Part 1 of the 7th schedule means what? It is the list, central list or union list, that is the subject matters on which the central government can frame the laws. So out of which we understood that central government has the right to tax on income other than agricultural income. Central government has the right to tax customs including export duties. It has the right to levy excise on tobacco and other goods except alcoholic human consumption. It has the right to levy corporation tax, that is your company tax. Or we can also say this corporation taxes, local corporation, municipal corporation, or this corporation means companies, incorporated organizations, on them taxes. Taxes on capital value of assets, exclusive of agricultural land of individuals and companies, taxes on capital of companies. So taxes on capital values of assets, when you sell assets, ಅಸೆಟ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುವಂತ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುವ ರೈಟ್ ಯಾರಿಗಿದೆ? ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕ್ಲೂಸಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಗೇನ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಗೆ ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ನೋ ಪವರ್ ಟು ಲೆವಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್, ಕಂಪನಿಯ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕುವಂತ ರೈಟ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, estate duty other than for agricultural land, property ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುವಂತ excise duties, wealth tax ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, but it is not there as of now. Duties in respect to succession of property other than agricultural land, ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲ. octroi ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವು ಬರ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದು, that is not there. Next one, terminal tax on goods or passengers carried by railway, sea or air, taxes on railway fares and freights. All these things are to be collected by central government. So like this, if you go and read the different provisions, if you go and read the different items in the central list, you will find that there are many things on which central government can collect the tax. And this, coming to clause 3 of the same article, next we need to see subject to clause 1 and 2. Subject to, so first we read it as notwithstanding anything. Here we are reading subject to. Subject to means what? After reading those provisions, whatever is left, based on that we have to understand clause 3 of the article 246. What does it say? The legislature of any state shall have exclusive power to make laws for such state or any part thereof with respect to any matters enumerated in list 2 of the 7th schedule. List 2 of the 7th schedule is all about state list. So if you go and check this list 2 of the 7th schedule, you will find list of items that say state government can frame rules of, out of which there are many things which needs to be focused. Okay, so article 246. Article 246 clause 3 gives us the explanation with respect to those items that needs to be understood from state list. So if you see the state list, there are many things like police, public order, and all this is all well known to you people. Local government, public health, pilgrimages, libraries and all. With respect to taxation, we have certain items here. With respect to taxation, we have certain items. See, we saw that agricultural income was left out from central list, that is your union list, which is included here. Taxes on agricultural income. Taxes on agricultural income is included in state list. Duties in respect to succession to agricultural land. Estate duty in respect to agricultural land. All that is related to agricultural land will be collected by state government. Taxes on land and building, which you call as property tax. So rules regarding property tax is also made by state government. Taxes on mineral rights subject to any limitations imposed by parliament by law relating to mineral development. Duties of excise on alcoholic liquor, opium. So you saw that alcoholic liquor part was left out when it comes to central list, and it is included here. It is included here. So opium, Indian hemp and narcotics were excluded in the central list. It is included in the state list. So with respect to these matters, state government have the right to impose the tax. State government have the right to impose the tax. Taxes on entry of goods into local area for consumption, use and sales thereof. taxes on consumption or sale of electricity. Electricity ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು tax ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ even that is left to central state government. Taxes on goods and passengers carried by road or inland. Why? Because all these are controlled by state departments. All these are controlled by state government. For that purpose, these items are to be included under state. So, all in all, what we need to understand is Constitution is giving the power to impose the tax, collect the tax. Constitution says tax can be collected only by the virtue of tax laws. So, when it comes to formation of law, power to form law, for that we need to understand Article 246. Article 246 divides the responsibility into three broad categories. It says some things are to be done by central government, that is the parliament. Some things are to be done by state government, and some things concurrent list where both the parties can take decisions in different manners. When it comes to tax laws, these two areas are very important, whereas clause 1 speaks about parliamentary laws, clause 2 speaks about state laws, and for that purpose we need to go and see list 1 and list 2 of the 7th schedule. This is the basic section, or this is the basic article through which laws, taxation laws are framed in India. Other than this, there are some other provisions with respect to state government and all that we will see later. Now, when we read this provisions, one thing is pretty much clear. Those matters with respect to which central government is framing the laws, state government cannot touch it. State government cannot interfere into those laws. With respect to those matters which state government is going to frame the laws, central government cannot interfere. But so, due to this, there are different laws in India, tax laws in India. Maybe your property tax, maybe your income tax act, maybe the wealth tax which was there in the earlier days, tax on agriculture, Bhukanda anta naven helteo, tax on agriculture, all those things. So, respective governments have the right. Now we need to understand one more broad category of taxation. So, this is all about income tax. Income tax is imposed by central government of India by the virtue of 246(1). Property tax is imposed by state government through local municipalities by the virtue of Article 246(3). So, this is known now. Now, I have a question. So, what has happened is, after 2017, what they have done is, they have imposed something called as goods and service taxes. So, the format of goods and service taxes is such that a part of tax is collected by state government and a part of tax is collected by central government. So when tax is collected by state government and central government, obviously there should be a law for this. There should be a law for collection of tax, because Article 265. Article 265 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಲಾ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಸರಿ, ಲಾ ಬೇಕು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ಲಾ ಯಾರು ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? You will go and refer to Article 246. But this is one thing where ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲಾ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಲಾ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. But if you see Article 246 doesn't allow this at all. Article 246 doesn't allow this. Reason? Article 246 divides it clearly. Article 246 ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? Articles 246 clear division ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ ಲಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ ಲಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಜಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ಫಾರ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಲವಿಂಗ್. ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ 101st amendment was introduced. 101st amendment to the constitution was introduced, through which Article 246A was inserted. Article 246A was inserted. Now we need to understand what is this Article 246A. A new article itself was introduced in the Constitution for bringing in a new tax law in India. So for that purpose, we need to understand what is Article 246A. So let us have a reference to Article 246A so that we will have a clarity on it. 101st Amendment, which is done in our year 2016. So what happened is Article 246, we already know. Brief reading of Article 2, what does it say? Central list, state list, everything is there. So schedules we know. Now Article 246A, what does it say? We need to understand. Article 246 says, notwithstanding anything contained in Article 246 and 254. Notwithstanding anything that is contained in Article 246 and 254. So while reading this article, you need to keep aside Article 246. So whatever the division of responsibilities that was done by Article 246 will remain silent when you are reading Article 246A. Article 246A ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? Article 246 ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ನಾಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಟೈನ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ Article 246A. Article 246 ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ? What does it say? It says Parliament and subject to clause 2, the legislature of every state have the power to make laws with respect to goods and service taxes imposed by union or by the state laws. So what is it saying is, by virtue of Article 246A, both Parliament and the state government have the right to impose and make laws with respect to something called as goods and service taxes. With respect to goods and service taxes. So constitutionally goods and service tax ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. 2016 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯಿತು? 101st ಅಮೆಂಡ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟು ದ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಆ 101st ಅಮೆಂಡ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿಚ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ Article 246A. Article 246A ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿತು? ನಾಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಟೈನ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ Article 246. Article 246 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರೆದಿದೆಯೋ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. We are not bothered about Article 246. Instead, Parliament and subject to clause 2. Subject to clause 2 we'll read later. So what it is saying, Parliament and the legislature of every state have the power to make laws with respect to goods and service taxes imposed by union or by such state. So central government ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ state government ಗೆ ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಲಾ ತರುವಂತದ್ದು, ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಲಾ ತರುವಂತ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವೇರ್ ದ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಕಮ್ಸ್? Article 246A clause 1. Article 246A clause 1 gives the authority to both the state government as well as this one central parliament. It gives authority to both state government as well as central parliament for implementation of Article 246A. Now subject to clause 2 ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಲೈನ್ ಇದೆ. We have to understand what is this subject to clause 2. Article 246A clause 2 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? Parliament has exclusive power. See, very simple. Let us say Karnataka is one state, Andhra Pradesh is one state. With respect to all the transaction that happens in Karnataka government can have a control. With respect to all the things that happens in Andhra Pradesh government can have a control. But if transaction is happening between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, if a transaction, supply of service or supply of goods has to happen between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, question will come, who will control it? Which government has the authority to control this? Obviously, there will be conflict between the states. That is why clause 2 has been introduced to remove this confusion. It says whenever there is interstate transaction, such transactions, taxes will be levied based on the laws framed by central government. So, what does it say? Parliament has exclusive power, not the state government. Parliament has exclusive power to make laws with respect to goods and service taxes, where supply of goods or services or both takes place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Interstate, between the states. Within the state is called as intrastate. ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟಿನ ಒಳಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಳಾಗುದಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಇಂಟ್ರಾಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ, ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಕೇರ್. ಬಟ್ when it comes to interstate, from one state to another state, a lawyer in Karnataka is giving service to client in Andhra Pradesh. A dealer in Kerala is going to supply goods to Jammu Kashmir. Now there will be confusion between who will make the laws, whether you have to follow Karnataka's law or whether you have to follow Jammu Kashmir's law, or we have to follow Andhra Pradesh law, Gujarat law. Lot of confusions will be there. For this purpose, to remove these confusions, what did the Constitution say? Constitution said this power is exclusive. State government will not interfere here. Who will have the power? The Parliament, the central government has the power when it comes to interstate transactions. When it comes to interstate transactions. So whenever goods are transported from one state to another state, the taxing power is with the central government and not with the state governments. But if the transaction happens within the state, both central government and state government have the power to tax. How? By virtue of Article 246A(1). By virtue of Article 246A(1). So I am trying to elaborate you the definition, the difference between Article 246 and Article 246A. Article 246 ಅನ್ನು observe ಮಾಡಿ. Article 246 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಬೇರೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಬೇರೆ. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನೋಡ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನೋಡ್ತದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 246A ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ? ಸ್ಟೇಟಿನ ಒಳಗೆ ಆಗುವ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ GST ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟಿನ ಮೇಲೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಒಳಗೆ ಆಗುವಂತ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ GST ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡುವ ರೈಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟಿಗೂ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟಿಗೂ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ನ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುವ ರೈಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 246 is. Tell me, are you all understanding what I am saying? Article 246 ಗೂ Article 246A ಗೂ ಇರುವ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? And Article 246A ನ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? Please tell me. So please kindly confirm if you are clear with Article 246 and Article 246A, Clause 1 and Clause 2. Yes, my dears. I'm waiting for your reply. Article 246 is not absolute. Article 246 cannot be absolute. Why cannot be absolute? It cannot be obsolete. Reason being, it cannot be obsolete. Reason being, it is not only restricted to tax laws. It is restricted to all the laws in India. It is restricted. It covers all the law making capacity in India. So 246 is not obsolete. 246A has been introduced exclusively for bringing in GST. 246 has been brought in exclusively for the purpose of GST. GST ಹಾಕುವಂತ ರೈಟ್ 246 ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ 246A ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. That doesn't mean Article 246A is outdated. Article 246 ಅನ್ನು ರಿಪೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. See, law and order, education. So example I'll give. Law and order, ಈ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಹೋಮ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು? ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 246 ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ 2. ಈ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಇದರೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾರ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು? ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 246 ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ 1. Education, then some other matters, all these things are in concurrent list, wherein control is between both the central government and state government. So 246 ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ತೆಗಿಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. If 246 is gone, all the government will be powerless. ಯಾವ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ ಲಾ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ 246A ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ಲಾ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೋತ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಪವರ್ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ one important article was essential, and for that purpose Article 246A was introduced. For that purpose, Article 246A was introduced. Yes, is that clear for you? Is that clear for you? So my question is, with respect to interstate, or I'll just put a question here, you have to tell me. So now, transaction should happen between Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. Transaction has to happen between Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. If Gujarat is sending goods to Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat is sending goods to Uttar Pradesh, tax has to be levied by Gujarat or Uttar Pradesh government. Which government will levy tax? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವ ರೈಟ್ ಯಾರಿಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದು? ಗುಜರಾತ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಉತ್ತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯೋ? None of this government will have it. None of this, very good. None of this government will have it. None of this government will have it. Only central government, that is government of India, will have this power. Taxes will be levied by government of India only. A person who is located in Bangalore, a person who is located in Bangalore sends goods to his customer in Udupi. To his customer in Udupi. Tell me, which government can collect the tax on this transaction? Which government can collect the tax on this? Are you sure? In case of this one, in this case, both Karnataka government and government of India will be collecting the tax. Article 246A, that is why is important. Article 246A2 correct. Article 246A1 ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಎರಡೂ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೆ ಪವರ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೂ ಪವರ್ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೂ ಪವರ್. That is why if transaction is happening within the state, if transaction is happening within the state, both government can collect the tax. If transaction is happening between the states, if transaction is happening interstate, only central government has the power to collect the tax. Is this clear for you? Article 246 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಬ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. Article 246A clause 1 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಬ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. Article 246A clause 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ state government only will come, only state government will come. So to make a note out of this, we can make a note like this. Article 246A, Article 246A, in this clause 1, with respect to transactions within the state, that is intrastate, we call it as intrastate ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ನಾವು. intrastate, within the state, with respect to transactions within the state, ಒಂದೇ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ನ ಒಳಗೆ ಆಗುವಂತ transactions, tax can be levied by central government plus state government. Both central government plus state government, both will be levying the tax. Clause 2, with respect to transactions between the states. See, this is within the state, this is between the states. With respect to transactions between the states, tax can be levied only by central government. Only by central government. So, to avoid the conflict between the state, reason is very simple. Eradu state baruvaga nannadu anta conflict bartade. They will fight among themselves. To avoid that, central government has taken up the power to tax on its own. Central government will have the power to tax on its own. But within the state aguvaga state ಗೂ ಕೂಡ benefit ಆಗಬೇಕು, central government ಗೂ benefit ಆಗಬೇಕು. For that purpose, clause 1 gives power to both central government and state government. Is this clear now? Article 246A clear aita? Yes, 100% are you clear? Very important. Idu basic correct idre GST clear agi artha agtade. Idu basic clear illadiದ್ರೆ GST ಅಲ್ಲಿ lot of confusions ಬರ್ತದೆ. I hope it is clear for you. Yes, sir. Super. Okay. So Article 246A is over. Article 246A is over. Some points of importance we need to understand when it comes to Article 246A. So we'll observe it here. So 101st Amendment. This is important. GST introduced at the Avaga 101st Amendment in the GST introduced with the advent of 101st Amendment to the Constitution. That introduced at the 2017 alli. So 101st Amendment adadu 2017. It gives us the definition of GST. Article 366 clause 12A gives us the definition of GST. What is GST? Goods and service tax means any tax on supply of goods or supply of service or both, except taxes on supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So alcoholic liquor for human consumption bittu ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಆಫ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸಿಗೂ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಆಫ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ಸಿಗೂ ಲೆವಿ ಆಗುವಂತ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ಗೆ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ? ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಸರ್ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲಿಗೆ GST ಇಲ್ಲ, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ಗೆ GST ಇಲ್ಲ, ಏವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ಗೆ GST ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹೌ ದಿಸ್ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 279A5. ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 279A ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, it gives the power to establish something called as Goods and Service Tax Council, GST Council ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನ್ ಕರಿತೇವೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 279A ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸೇಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 279A ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ 5 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲಿಯಂ, with respect to high speed diesel, with respect to motor spirit, that is your petrol, with respect to natural gas, and with respect to aviation fuel, GST will be levied. GST will be levied from the date council decides. So ಈ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ 5 ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ? ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲಿಯಂ ಕ್ರೂಡ್, ಹೈ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಡೀಸೆಲ್, ಮೋಟಾರ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಟ್, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್, ಏವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಟರ್ಬೈನ್ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್. ಈ 5 ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ GST ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಕ್ಸೈಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯೇ ಲೆವಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ GST ಗೆ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, GST ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಯಾವ ಡೇಟ್ ಇಂದ ಅಂತ ರೆಕಮೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೋ, ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್ ಡೇಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಓವರ್ ಬೈ GST. From that date, this will be taken over by GST. So GST definition in the exclude ಆಗುವಂತ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಒಂದೇ, ಅದು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿರ್ತದೆ. ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲಿಕ್ ಲಿಕ್ಕರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ GST. ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲಿಕ್ ಲಿಕ್ಕರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಗೆ GST ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಸ್, ಅದು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿರ್ತದೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 366(12A keeps it outside from the definition of GST. So this brings us to the end of discussion on Article 246A. So 265 we started. We read 265 with the 246. For some extent, we also read Article 265 with the 246A. I hope this is clear. The constitutional power of taxation, is it clear for you? There are some more points which will be covered in the next class. Yes, I hope it is clear for you. Yes. So with that, I can conclude this discussion for the day at least.